My 22 male ex-girlfriend, 20 female broke up with me, but wants to be friends. She told me she wants to end this relationship, as she doesn't believe we are compatible for each other anymore. Since we got into a relationship March 2021, we discovered who we are and what our values are. This is a completely valid point from her part, but still, when she told me that I was abroad for 8 weeks and was supposed to be back 2 weeks later, it was strange. She came to this decision as we haven't seen each other for 2 months. And we have a lot of talk about what we are, what are our goals, and mainly what things we need to do to improve our relationship. When I get back, I was almost the person taking on those topics. Well, to not brag here, let's just say it broke me to hear that. But I still thought to not think about it, as maybe I will get back, see her, and maybe she will give it another chance. When I got back to my country, I visited her for the weekend, and still her decision remained the same. Although it's so weird to me, she said, she still wants us to sleep together, have sleep and abstain from sleep with other people, and still she was saying she loves me, but don't want to be in a relationship. Need to add, I was totally blinded with my love for her, and I still was at her place, so I wasn't able to process this. So second night in, she went to the store and we were supposed to watch a movie. So I opened her laptop and I somehow could unlock it with my fingerprint, must have set it up in the past. And what I saw next was traumatic for me. I opened a new tab and there was some profile of a guy saved on a dating website. Not like a Tinder, but a site that you basically hook up for sleep. And people there don't hide this fact. Also, this dating website is something she used in the past, and I told her to never go there, as it's completely disrespectful for me. And here you might say, but you are not in a relationship anymore. Well, of course. However, I confronted her and she told me she signed up on this website 2 weeks after I went abroad. And all this time I was abroad, I felt something was not right. And I thought it was just my insecurities, and I'm being a little bitch to even think this way. But it turned out I was right, and I don't want to even begin telling how much trust issues I will have for new people for the coming years. So she had a fake profile texting other guys because she felt like she needed more attention when I was abroad, even though I was always the guy with high libido and she couldn't handle it. I even offered her to have a call with camera and play a little, but she declined. All that but some degenerate website. Just to put it simply, cheating, I was mad, sad, frustrated, and mostly felt betrayed by this thing. She didn't make any excuses and admitted straight away, so the whole night was just me thinking what to do. I stayed the night at hers. Next day, I had alternating thoughts, each minute: 1, to leave her and cut her off, and 2, to try to forgive her and give her a chance to work on getting my trust back. I decided to go for the second option then, because for some reason I thought she would also like to get in the relationship. But after telling her this, I asked if she wants to get back into the relationship, and she still said no. Hell, she even said later, when I asked, that she won't abstain from sleep with other people. Now, she also assured, again, she loves me, but this time she said not. It's not the same as it used to be, and cares for me and what I'm doing. But honestly, it was disappointing the next week, as she didn't do anything in order to get that trust back, and she did nothing to make me feel better after what she did. I visited her this Sunday again, as I demanded a conversation. I explained to her how I felt and that her words seems very empty. She apologized and told me she was too embarrassed to contact me because of what she did to me. She even insisted how I can still want to see her after this. I'm just too blinded by my feelings. So we had sleep again, spent all day together, but still her decision remains the same. What gives me the hardest time is understanding why, after I decided to try and forgive her, she don't want to try and repair this relationship. I know this was a long story, but I don't know what to do with her. It's the only person that I knew I could have trusted and knows my highs and my lows, but looks like she gave up on me on some level. Still having a little hope, maybe it can repair itself after some time. If I had other people whom I can trust and had a deep connection, it would have been much easier. But I'm alone. What should I do with this person? Isn't she just keeping me until she finds someone else? I understand I'm the only person here who knows her, but I have no idea what should I do. Any advice appreciated. Let me be clear, and let me say this. You are giving her way too much. She cheated. She is sleep with you and flirting, or even sleep with other people. She has no interest in getting back with you. She wants to continue to sleep with other people. Get that through your head. I'm sorry if this is too blunt, but she's saying this nicely and indirectly isn't working. She says she loves you to not hurt your feelings, and while she may care for you, she is not in love with you. Get out of this cloud if you do not. I promise you that you will continue to hurt. Bro, stop playing the pick-me game immediately. You just need to tell her she isn't a safe partner. She broke your trust and that the relationship is over. Tell her she has no respect for you herself or your relationship. You are allowing her to dictate everything. She has been sleeping with others. Don't kid yourself. You should probably go get tested. Dude, there are much better women out there that are looking for a true relationship. She just wants to string you along till she finds your replacement. Why torture yourself with this? Women move on already. Story 2. I have recently broken up with my ex after I told him I could not handle the behavior that was occurring in our relationship anymore. We were only going out less than a year, and things progressed way too fast. Looking back on it, I moved from Brighton to Manchester to be with him and left all my friends and family behind. On the first night at our new flat, my friends had helped us move in, and my ex spent the whole time not helping and speaking to his sister on FaceTime about how awful the place he'd picked was and how he did not have space for the things he needed. He watched my friends struggle with heavy items. After they'd left, I told him that he hadn't behaved very nicely and that everyone had driven a long way to help me out, and he should have helped more. I was annoyed and let down. He turned it round on me and blamed me for picking a rubbish flat. I ended up dropping him back to his current accommodation that he had not yet moved out of, and he ended the night by screaming at me in my car with spit pouring out his mouth. That level of anger is indescribable. I cried and said, "I don't know why I moved here," and he shouted at me and stormed out. After this, he came round and tried to help me, but this ended up in more disagreements, and I ended up doing most of the cleaning and prepping of the flat on my own in a brand new place, away from everyone I care about. Soon he moved in, and things became worse. He always had something he needed to talk to me about, and started writing long essays about how I needed to change in the relationship, mainly around how he felt my communication was shit, and how dissatisfied he was with the person I was compared to who I was 3 months in. When we were intimate a lot more, and I would spend hours listening to how he was feeling, I was exhausted. There was always a new problem, a new thing I'd done, and something to discuss. It felt like nothing was ever good enough. I became distant cold, and although I loved him deeply, I felt I was living on eggshells, waiting for the next thing. I would be bombarded with messages regularly, and it felt as though I was becoming absorbed in his chaotic life. Soon after this, the anniversary of a family member's death came around. I was really struggling, and could St. Times be snappy as I was finding it hard with the grief. During this time, I felt as though he was disappointed with me, not feeling like being intimate, and would get very upset and frustrated by this instead of being understanding. This led to a lot of difficult feelings for me. Often when we'd argue, it would always be my fault, and he would go on and on about me, about how I am rubbish at communication, and never apologize, so much so that I did my own research and felt led to believe I must be some kind of narcissist or awful person. I have never been told these things before, and have worked in mental health for a very long time. My friends always tell me how empathetic I am, and I was so shocked that I might be some kind of monster with no emotional intelligence. It messed with my sense of identity, and I really began to lose myself. As things progressed, the arguments got worse. At one point, he threatened to slap me, screamed in my face, "You are nothing," and at another point, he told me that more men take their own lives because of women's behavior. All of these times, he would say it was because I was going for him. He said horrible things about my mother, telling me she doesn't care about me. There would always be some underlying issues, and it would turn out that he had been unhappy in the relationship for years and never told me about it. I would be distraught as I truly loved him in amongst all of this, and would get upset, and I would often mention breaking up, which I know is not okay. I just felt, how could this person love me for me? The arguments progressed, and he would constantly tell me, I never apologize, that I always want to be the victim, and that my communication is so poor. He would be so focused on my failures that he would rarely give me a wholehearted apology from my perspective. It got to the point where I decided to leave the house one day for a bit, as I couldn't go through it again. As I shut the porch door, he kicked it. I didn't ever feel much real remorse from him for acting this way, and it wasn't long before it happened again. He became cold, distant, and didn't seem to be bothered about how he was making me feel. I stood several meters away from him and repeatedly asked him to leave the flat, telling him I could no longer live my life walking on eggshells. He charged towards me and slammed the door in my face, did not touch me, but was so much closer this time, and it scared me. I hid in the bedroom, and about half an hour later, he was just walking around as nothing happened, getting ready for a shower, and not communicating with me. As I laid on the bed in a heap, I knew that enough was enough. So much had happened that I cannot go into on here, as this message is long enough. But something was telling me that even if my communication is truly awful, nobody else has ever treated me like this. So, why does he think it's okay? I left and spent the week back home, and asked him to leave by the time I was back, as I didn't feel safe. Since then, he's been making everything so difficult and calling me emotionally abusive, and that we'd have to agree to disagree, as I asked him to stop blaming me for what happened, saying he only got that way because of my behavior. I've told him I don't want to speak to him and get closure as much as I do. Need that my friends have told me I will never get that. Please help. Right now, I feel worthless. Hi, I am very sorry that you got such a weak-willed and unable to control himself. Boy, not only did he allow himself to blame you for his problems, he also raised his voice and showed incessant aggression. I believe that this is already the lowest level to which a boy can reach in a relationship. Everyone should show mutual understanding and talk about your problems so that you can solve them. Otherwise, misunderstandings and disagreements begin, as I saw in your post, but I don't think it could have occurred to him, because it seems to me that he is not a pretty smart person. So I think you should forget this person as soon as possible and focus on yourself. People like him are not worth your attention, and even more so, the effort and love that you gave him. Enduring all his rude antics, remember, never take insults and opinions of other people to heart. Judging by what you wrote in the post, you are a very good and kind person who is able to give love to the person who is not able to accept it. Do not blame yourself for his character problems, and no matter how hard it is, leave him and live first of all for yourself. You still have your whole life ahead of you, so don't waste time on people who are not interested in you and don't pay attention to you and your problems seriously. I wish you good luck and success in the future. Be happy. I'm so sorry this is happening to you, and you are not worthless. He's made you feel that way. You sound like a lovely person and a narcissistic person. Generally don't wonder if they are narcissistic or not, because they wouldn't have the empathy to care if they were, one or not. Get away from this relationship. It sounds toxic and will only get worse. He's gaslighting. You don't deserve this. Life is too short. He will always make everything about him, and you need to look after you. Best of luck. I'm really sorry you've been through all this. You know, you don't deserve this kind of treatment from anyone. Never mind your significant other, your partner, the guy who's supposed to have your back against else. Instead, he continually attacks you. He chooses to be that way for the record. Just leave it won't improve. Hard as it is, to realize it's always been this standard and will only get worse. My ex showed his true colors 3 months in, and I stayed for a decade. Don't do the same to yourself, please. He is a bully. You already know how toxic he is. Don't sink any more of your time or energy into this miserable relationship. It will not pay off. Narcissism is a condition when a person overestimates his importance, seeks constant recognition, and considers himself better than others. In modern life, a narcissist is a person who is confident in his abilities, strives to be the center of attention, and emphasizes his uniqueness. In fact, such a set of characteristics may seem quite healthy for an ambitious and self-confident person. Indeed, within certain limits of character, narcissism is a normal aspect of a person's psychological functioning and self-identification, and does not require treatment, which cannot be said about narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is a psychiatric disorder that manifests itself as excessive narcissism. It is expressed in a pathological way of attracting attention to one's own person and feeling greatness over others. The cause of the occurrence is the influence of a combination of several factors. They can be genetic and biological predisposition, insufficient or excessive parental attention in early childhood, traumatic events and stressful situations, social media, society or cultural factors. Therefore, narcissistic personality disorder is more than narcissism and overestimated self-esteem. Narcissism can also be expressed in a more severe extreme form, which is called perverse or antisocial. This type of narcissism can be especially dangerous and have serious consequences for both the individual and society. The features of perverse narcissists are the desire to destroy the victim's life by simulating the perception of people as a means to achieve their own goals, the inability to compete honestly and take responsibility for self-aggrandizement. To the level of God, I think based on this information and what you wrote in the post, you clearly do not fit everything that I wrote. So do not take it personally. You are a wonderful person. Be happy and good luck.